American Top Team in South Florida is a premier MMA training facility in the world, featuring champions and many ranked fighters. And this MMA ATT fighter established himself with an 11-1 record for Bellator before recently moving to PFL, the Professional Fighters League. And hey, PFL will feature him in a new series on its debut of it on Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on PFL's YouTube channel titled Prep Point. This is rising star Jordan Young. Thank you, Jordan. Hey, what can you tell us about Prep Point?
So Prep Point was an interview I did for the PFL. It was my first interview ever that I did with them, and it was my first look at their setup, and they had a good one. They had a lot of good questions, and I feel like it was a good look at me inside my home, just being myself. And at the end, we did this cool little rapid-fire questionnaire where they asked me like 5 or 6 questions back-to-back, and I gave some pretty interesting answers. It was a fun interview.
It really delves more into not just the MMA, but also your personal life and your training and going through the pandemic and different aspects like that.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely went beyond just the sport, and it asked me more so about myself and what I have going on in my personal life. It gave like a good insight. I'm excited to watch it this Thursday.
How do you feel about that too? Because obviously when you do something like that now, hopefully more eyes are going to be on you.
Yeah, for sure. I think they definitely will. I'm a relatable person, and I'm likable. You know, I'm just like everybody else. I have things I like to do, and I have faults as well. So I think that the interview will show people like a more relatable side to me than just MMA. Not everybody is into MMA or does MMA, you know?
Yeah, it gives a good perspective, unique outlook, and hopefully attract fans, whether they're of MMA or just people that want to know about people. It'll be a really good, groundbreaking PFL dynamic that they've added. And it's hosted by Lilian Garcia, who is a PFL ring announcer, a singer, and a WWE alum. I'm curious, did you know Lilian? Did you ever watch WWE?
Yeah, I watched WWE growing up, but I didn't recognize her right off the bat. They told me that's who it was, and then I did my research on her before the interview, and then when we did the interview, she was fun. I'm looking forward to working with her in the future for the PFL.
Yeah, she has her own podcast. She's so multi-talented, really cool and all. And I'm curious, were you a fan then? We'll just do a couple more of these questions, but were you a fan of WWE? Did you have any favorites growing up?
Yeah, I like The Undertaker. I like Triple H. I was a big fan of the WWE, and I stopped watching it, though, I'd say, when I got into my teenage years. But growing up as like a youth, I was super into WWE.
Did you go to any shows in Urbandale or anywhere in Iowa?
Yeah, I've been to one show in Iowa, actually. I got gifted some free tickets after a fight for doing a radio interview. I took my little brother.
How'd that go? Do you remember anything about it?
I think Sting was there. It's like a throwback, actually. But outside of that, I don't remember too many details.
That is so cool, though. It's interesting to me. The pro wrestling dynamic is always interesting to me these days because you do see crossover between MMA and pro wrestling either way. And I'm just curious. I know your focus is on PFL and the 2021 season. What are your thoughts of ever transitioning down the road into pro wrestling or giving that a try?
That's an interesting question. I've never really thought about that before. If the opportunity arose and it made sense, and I was at a point in my career where I felt I could take my focus off of just doing MMA, I would definitely be interested in trying that out. I have some friends who do it in the MMA world, like King Mo. He's like the first one that comes to mind. And then also a coach at American Top Team, Steve Bruno. I believe he's partaking in some type of pro wrestling. I know they're not exactly WWE, but pro wrestling itself in the sport.
Oh, King Mo is working for Major League Wrestling. He had some time with Impact Wrestling. There have been some good companies he's worked for. And I know Mr. ATT, Dan Lambert, is a huge pro wrestling fan. And he's been on TV as well with Impact Wrestling and MLW. I didn't know if you knew Dan was big into pro wrestling.
Yeah, I actually remember him being on a poster with King Mo before. It didn't come to the top front of my mind. I've never had conversations with him about it, but that's interesting. I'll have to ask him about it next time I see him.
Jordan, you're a good dude. You're a good person. You're a great fighter. But if you ever get any bad sides on ATT, just talk pro wrestling with Dan Lambert. It'll smooth everything over.
Yeah, I have to keep that in mind. It's like get out of jail free card.
All right, let's talk MMA. That's what we're here for. When was the move to PFL, and why the change from Bellator?
Honestly, I had surgery in December of 2019, and I feel like the key to any relationship, personal or business, is communication. And I've had great communication with the PFL, and it's been a good transition. It's new for me, and everything that's been happening, I've been embracing and looking forward to competing underneath the PFL for the first time.
What was it like competing for Bellator? I mean, you went 11-1, and actually in the last fight, no excuses, but you were you were MMA fighting injured.
Yeah, no excuses. We'll give the kid his credit or whatever, but it was a good fight, and I learned a lot. And Bellator was a good experience for me. I got verified on social media, and I also had some good matchups there where I was able to get some experience and advance my record. So I'm thankful for my time there. I feel like I could have been promoted a little better and had some more opportunity, but we could always ask for more, right? So with what I was given, I won't complain though, and I feel like the PFL is definitely the perfect place for my next step in my career.
For those who don't know, PFL, Professional Fighters League, is the first organization ever to present MMA through a regular season, playoffs, and championship format. And it's also rolled out a new OTT platform, providing fight fans with access to hundreds of hours of premium PFL content, wherever they are, no restrictions. And a big selling point for doing that now is PFL decided, unlike a lot of sports, that, hey, this pandemic is and I know other sports, and they know it's very serious, but my point is, PFL decided, hey, we're going to shut down 2020. They got a contract with ESPN. They're on ESPN2, which is cool. But we're going to shut down 2020. We're going to focus on original content, building our YouTube channel, building our platforms, our social media, and doing that and get ready for 2021. And what's cool about it is when the champion wins after the regular season, the playoffs, and you go through the championship format, each winner gets $1 million. Kayla Harrison, American Top Team, last year, ended up being a champion, $1 million. It's a really cool format. But first I'll ask this. What are your thoughts of PFL shutting down for 2020 because of the pandemic?
I think it's a responsible decision. I think that, they're kind of setting the par for a lot of things in MMA. Like you said, they're the first promotion to present the season format. They're also the first promotion to ever offer a stipend to their fighters in light of the pandemic. They also canceled their season. I feel they did that for the best interest of not only their fans, but their own staff and their fighters.
When something like that happens, Jordan, what is the focus training-wise for you? Because you're not training for a fight. How does that process play right now for you?
I think the key to that is not peaking too fast or putting your foot on the gas too hard. You can burn out or run out of gas, better yet, and that's how you run into injuries or all kinds of other things. So I think the key is really just finding that balance and training smart while staying in good shape and being ready to peak in a 4 to 6 week range. I think would be a good time period. That seems to be what I see with the MMA promotions right now. Nobody's getting too much of a notice on when they're going to fight. Everything's happening within a month, 6 weeks time frame.
With PFL making the decision to take a break in 2020, did that factor into your decision-making process to join them, or that wasn't part of the process for you?
So I was already a part of the promotion before I knew anything about coronavirus or anything that was going to happen. I believe a month and a half after I signed my contract, and the virus started postponing everything and slowing everything up. And so it didn't really have a factor in my decision-making at all.
What have you been doing during the pandemic?
So American Top Team and Dan Lambert, thanks to Dan Lambert and American Top Team, better yet, I should say, they started getting us coronavirus testing, and we've just been staying on top of everything and, practicing social distancing or training in smaller groups we've been able to keep everything not exactly how it was, but pretty similar. We're at least getting in most of the work that we would have been able to do prior to the pandemic.
You mentioned American Top Team. What's it been like training there and just all the talent that's there?
It's world class. You know, I think we not only have the best gym in South Florida, but the best gym in all of the country and the world. So, you know, we have a host of guys coming through all the time, and it's just, you know, the coaching staff is amazing, the fighters are amazing, and the environment, the knowledge is just passing through, and like regular conversations is really amazing if you're a fan or, you know, a practitioner of mixed martial arts.
Hey, Jordan, you mentioned Steve Bruno and King Mo earlier. Are they two the ones also that are training you, are there other coaches there that you can give us who train you?
Yeah, so I work with, you know, pretty much all the coaching staff and a lot of fighters, but I've worked with King Mo in the past. I'm not currently. Steve Bruno, he's a watchful eye. I always take his advice when he offers it. I'm not currently working with him like one-on-one or any group setting, but I'm currently working with Coach Gabriel. He's a boxing coach. And then also I've been putting in a lot of mental work with Coach Conan Savaria, and I'm always working with Mike Brown and Steve Mako in the grappling classes.
Oh, that's cool. Conan and Mike, I mean, those two, man, those two are warriors. Just look at those two guys and all. Very cool.
Yeah, for sure. They're definitely respectable guys who set a good example, not only in the training room, but just like in everyday life.
Hey, Jordan, how was the move down from Iowa to South Florida? And was it from Iowa to South Florida? And how was that transition? Because you're going from, I guess, I've never been to Iowa, but a smaller area, tell me if I'm wrong, into more of a aggressive, fast-paced South Florida scene.
Yeah, so, you know, I moved here from San Diego, actually, but before we get into that, you know, I moved from Iowa to Nevada, and then back to Iowa, and then from Iowa to Arizona, and then from Arizona to San Diego, and then from San Diego to Florida 5 years ago. But yeah, Iowa is exactly as you explained. It's like a small pond, and then South Florida would be like the ocean, definitely bigger and a lot more going on, a lot more opportunity. But I feel I was in Iowa for the right amount of time, and I definitely have a lot of good connections in the Des Moines area. Once I brought my talent to South Florida, I've been enjoying the weather. I could say that. There's no snow here, and it's nice year-round.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to go and drive. You don't have to shovel any snow out of the driveway or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a change of pace for sure. Year-round, you're able to go outside and enjoy different features that you can't find anywhere near Iowa.
Well, you mentioned San Diego. That's a great place to live. Oh my gosh, and to spend time out there. People love going to San Diego. So you've lived in bigger places too, so you have that. What made you, or how did you get to American Top Team? Was there someone you knew? Obviously, you probably knew about ATT, but how do you get to that point where, okay, I'm going to go to South Florida, that's where I'm going to go train?
So I actually came to South Florida. I'm a traveling guy. I like to not say I'm from one area, but say I'm from everywhere, you know what I mean? Like, I came to South Florida in 2014 before I was actually a professional fighter. I was getting ready for my first professional fight, and I spoke to the head coach, Conan Savaria, at American Top Team, and he told me that I need to put together some professional fights, and then after doing that, I would be in a better position to talk about joining the team. So in the meantime, I looked for other teams on the West Coast. I was brought out to help Ryan Bader train at Power MMA in Arizona. So I got a good, I'd say like 8 to 9 months in Arizona, helping Ryan Bader out, staying with a friend of mine who's also a professional fighter. We were in Bellator at the time. And then, from there we went to San Diego, and I was training at Alliance a little bit as well with some individual coaching. And from there, I actually shout out LC Davis. He's from Kansas City. I reached out to him because I know I met him through Josh Neer, and I know that he trained at American Top Team. And so I asked him for a contact, and he gave me the general manager's email. So I shot an email over to the general manager. Shout out to Richie. And I pretty much just explained my situation, where I was at in my career. I believe I was 5-0 at the time. And they showed me a lot of love, and they took care of me. They told me to come out for a week and give it a try. And I came out, and the connection was there. Some people remembered me from my travels in 2014, and the ball's just been rolling ever since. I came down and went back to Iowa for just a couple weeks, and then I moved down right after that. And shortly after I moved down, I got signed to Bellator, and that's how all this got started.
Man, the rest is history. And you mentioned some names and some places. Man, what a pedigree. What a history so far you've had with that. How has that just all helped you and shaped you into the fighter you are today?
Yeah, it's definitely added a lot of experience. So, like, you know how, like, some guys say, you know, they've had a lot more fights or whatever, they're older than me and stuff like that. You know, I've had a lot of experiences, and I started when I was very young. So a lot of this fighting stuff is built in my DNA. A lot of, like, you know, when people are, like, nervous to ask somebody to go to prom at 16 years old or whatever the age is, I was already involved in, like, high-level grappling tournaments and mixed martial arts fights. I didn't go to prom. I had an MMA fight that night. So that's just, like, the difference between me and a lot of people is that I put all my eggs in this basket, and I've been very focused on this. I didn't worry about any of that other stuff that kids worry about. So as an adult, a lot of my life is revolving around MMA. Just how it's working out.
Yeah, and it's working out, and good for you to do that and have a goal, have a plan, and follow through with it like you are. Hey, what was it like growing up in Urbandale?
Yeah, I got a lot of love in Urbandale. I'm the king of Urbandale, yeah.
Yeah, I was getting, I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that because it's going to follow up to another question, which is great. But go ahead. What was it like in Armadale?
Yeah, so Urbandale treated me well. You know, it's just like a small town in Des Moines. And, you know, I didn't hang out there too much. Like, I went to school there, but I would hang out in Des Moines itself. So it's like a nice little 20-minute drive. I'd be in the downtown area a lot. But, yeah, you know, Urbandale as well. It's nice.
Did you play any sports at Urbandale High School?
Yeah, I played football until my sophomore year when I really started taking MMA serious. And I was doing well in football. I had a couple different options for, like, if I wanted to take it serious. I think I could have took it a couple different places college-wise. But I stayed focused on MMA, and I kind of just gave that up, knowing that MMA wasn't the sport to be, like, you know, partway involved in.
Well, you mentioned football, and it's interesting because Iowa is huge with amateur wrestling. But you didn't have any inclination to try amateur wrestling?
Nah, I didn't wrestle at all. You know, I missed like that 6th grade, 7th grade. You know, like I didn't start early. So then by the time I got to high school, I did wrestle like a little bit my freshman year, but it wasn't during like the season. It was like in like some of the like summer like tournaments, if you will. And I didn't do so well. I was a bigger kid at that time when I was playing football. My sophomore year, I lost a lot of weight when I started taking MMA serious, and I trained wrestling then, but I didn't understand, you know, I didn't understand overhooks and underhooks and, you know, the details of what was going on. When I lost my first amateur fight, I think I was 5 fights in. When I lost my first amateur fight, it was due to wrestling, and that really put me on to, like, the fact that I needed to practice that more. So I focused on wrestling for a solid 6 months, and after that, I had the basics down a lot more, and then from there on out, I started really being able to improve my wrestling game.
It's interesting because then when you first started with MMA, did you get that stereotype, oh, this kid's from Iowa, he must know how to wrestle?
Yeah, on the West Coast and also in Florida, when you say Iowa, a lot of people say Idaho. You know what I'm saying? They get confused, and then they ask about the potatoes, and you say, like, nah, Iowa. And then that's when wrestling comes into play. And then it's always the same thing with me is that I started training all facets of mixed martial arts. And so I just stayed focused on that. Like, to me, when I started training in jiu-jitsu and boxing and Muay Thai and a little bit of wrestling, you know, playing with, like, no-gi jiu-jitsu, and then it would go into a little bit of wrestling and whatnot, I could not take my mind off of, like, all these different facets of mixed martial arts. I didn't want to, like, just focus on wrestling for a long period of time, you know what I mean? Even though, like, looking back, I'm not going to say that's not a good idea for people who want to, like, focus on mixed martial arts. You know, it's looking back, you know, how long is a wrestling season in high school? Like 3-4 months or whatever, if that, 2-3 months. So it's really like you just got to look at it as a training camp and put in a grind. And then when you come out of that, you're going to have improved skill set in that facet of mixed martial arts. So that's how I should have been looking at it. But was a little young then, so I didn't really want to give up jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and whatnot, so I stayed with that. And also, to me, like in mixed martial arts, wrestling is like one of the only facets where you can't fit. It's like you can get in great position and you can ground and pound somebody out and you control the fight, but you don't necessarily finish. There's no finishing submissions or punches in wrestling, you know what I mean? So that was a turn off for me.
Yeah, Jordan, you like those submissions and the punches, right?
Yeah, I'm all about that. I'm all about the finish. It's kill or be killed for me. I don't want to hug my opponent, you know what I mean? That's a little bit of what wrestling is. Don't get it twisted. There's some great parts of wrestling, but like people who focus purely on wrestling, I'm not, that style's not appealing to me.
Save that for the Olympics, brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, okay, so this is now where it's leading to this, and a few more questions, and thank you so much for the time. Are you the most famous person from Urbandale High School?
I'm not the most famous person from Urbandale High School. Although I do like myself, I'm not going to be arrogant today. I'll say that there's some other great athletes from Urbandale. I want to shout out Alum. He plays for the Green Bay Packers. He's been doing his thing in a lot of important games. You know, he had some great catches in the later portion of the season last year, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in the future. I'd say between me and him, though, we're definitely the top athletes out of Urbandale High School for sure.
Hey, Jordan, say the name again. I don't know if I caught it or not on it, so just say for the Green Bay Packers who that is again.
Alan Lazar. He's a wide receiver. I believe
All right.
number 81, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so you mentioned him and then yourself, but you don't want to be arrogant. So that at least puts you in two. So I can say, you don't have to say it, I can say it. You're on the Mount Rushmore of most famous athletes from Urbandale High School.
100%.
Yes. And then, Jordan, did you go to college or was it going right away to the School of Hard Knocks?
Yeah, so I already was like, my senior year, I finished high school, of course, but like I already was mentally knowing what I wanted to do and put all my eggs in the MMA basket. And there's no classes for that in college, so I definitely didn't attend any classes, at least not yet.
And where do you see yourself now? Where is Jordan Young at the point of his career right now?
On his way to get $1 million. Well, on his way to getting $1 million. But no, in all seriousness, though, I just had my first major surgery, and I want to give a shout out to my physical therapist, Dr. Christiana Marin, here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We've been putting in great work the last 9 months since surgery, and I'm feeling completely healed up. I'm feeling terrific. In some ways, I'm feeling better than before the surgery. So, But anyways, back to the question. I'm at this point in my career, though, I'm developing and I'm locking in. I know what my skill set is in the sport. There's still some areas of my game I can improve mentally, and of course, there's always areas you can improve physically. So I'm searching those areas out, and I'm definitely looking to close the gap and get into that upper echelon of the sport.
Hey, you're a tough son of a gun, no question about it. But was it scary going through that surgery process and the rehab process and leading up to all that?
Not so much the rehab, because I had worked with physical therapists before. This injury has been lingering a little bit, so I had been working on it already. Not working on it, but working on myself, just trying to improve range of motion and mobility in some different areas. So I trusted her. I never worked with the doctor who did my surgery before, and he did a beautiful job. So shout out to him, Dr. Stidham out of Northern California. But before the surgery, though, it's always nerve-wracking to put your future and your career, something you work so hard for, in the hands of somebody else. But I had to trust, the amount of time he's put in for his career, and it worked out in my favor. And, I wasn't super not trusting of his doctor. I had a recommendation to reach out to him from King Mo. He actually did King Mo surgery as well. So I was confident in who I had out of my options.
Well, we've got this big event coming up on Thursday, which is going to be really cool. It's PFL, Professional Fighters League. They have a new digital series, Prep Point, which PFL debuts at 10 a.m. Eastern Time Thursday on YouTube, and I'm sure you can watch it after that as well. And it's going to focus on this rising star, Jordan Young, who trains right here in South Florida at American Top Team, one of the premier training facilities in the world. And Jordan, thank you so much for the time. Hey, family and friends, is everybody in Iowa good? Is everybody good going through the pandemic on your side?
Yeah, for sure. I haven't had any complications. I've been chilling in the house with my Great Dane and putting in, the needed work to make sure that I'm ready for my next fight. And my family's been staying safe and out of the way, just like they should. And everything's been going good. So.
Okay, what's the Great Dane's name?
Harvey Dent, just like Two-Face. He has a split right down the middle. He's black and white face. He's got an Instagram if you want to check him out at Harvey Dent the Dane.
Yes, at Harvey Dent Dane.
The Dane, Harvey Dent the Dane, all one word.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I will check that out. Yes, of course. All right, Jordan. Hey, anything else? Do you want to give out any social media? Is there anything else you want to discuss or say as we close out here?
Yeah, so check me out on Instagram as well at JAY185. That's J185. And, also I want to give a shout out to Dan Lambert and American Top Team. I want to give a shout out to the PFL. And I also like to thank the Miami Herald for their time today.
Hey, thank you. That was very nice. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Hopefully the pandemic, we settle down with this thing, I'll be able to go back over to American Top Team and meet you and everything like that. All right, brother?
Yeah, 100%. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, thank you, Jordan. All the best.
You too.